5 ways to make someone sorry for messing with you. They laughed when you walked away. They assumed you would come back. They told themselves you weren't that special, that replaceable things don't matter much. But here's the truth. No one tells you. People rarely regret losing you while you're still available. They regret you when your silence becomes permanent, when your energy disappears, when your absence stops begging to be filled. This isn't about revenge. It's about becoming so grounded, so self-possessed, that losing you becomes a quiet mistake they can't undo. Most people handle rejection or betrayal by reacting. They argue, they send paragraphs, they try to explain their value, but value that needs explanation is already discounted. The Stoics understood something brutal about human psychology. People do not respect what is always accessible. What is scarce gains gravity. What is calm gains mystery. What moves forward without resentment gains power. If you want someone to regret losing you, you must first remove the version of you that was chasing their validation. And that begins here. 1. Be unavailable. Not fake busy, not playing hard to get, not posting cryptic quotes at midnight hoping they'll notice. Unavailable in spirit. When someone thinks they can access you anytime, emotionally, physically, digitally, they unconsciously lower your value. Familiarity breeds comfort, and comfort often breeds carelessness. You don't need to announce your absence. You just stop being reachable. You don't answer instantly. You don't volunteer your energy. You don't rearrange your schedule to accommodate someone who treated you like an option. Years ago, I watched someone lose respect for me slowly. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. The more I showed up, the more I accommodated, the more I explained, the less they valued my presence. The moment I stopped being immediately available, something shifted. Suddenly my time had weight. People measure importance by effort required. If access to you is effortless, so is losing you. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, not because they loved suffering, but because they understood attachment weakens clarity. When you detach from the need to be reached, liked, or validated, you become emotionally independent. Independence is magnetic. There is something unsettling about someone who no longer chases, who does not flinch when distance grows, who does not scramble to fix what they did not break. Scarcity creates reflection. When your presence is no longer predictable, people begin to notice its absence. They scroll, they wonder, they replay conversations, not because you begged them to, but because you stopped. And that is the beginning of regret. 2. Show them you're okay without them. This is the part most people fake. They pretend they're fine while secretly waiting for a message. They post filtered happiness, hoping it reaches the right pair of eyes. That is not power. Power is quiet stability. When someone expects you to collapse after they leave, and you don't, it unsettles them. It disrupts the narrative they created to justify losing you. If they told themselves you were dependent, your independence creates cognitive dissonance. You don't have to show off. You don't need dramatic reinvention. You simply continue living. You go to work. You train your body. You laugh with friends. You read. You build. And you do it without broadcasting the performance. The Stoics remind us that our peace cannot be tied to external events. If someone leaves and your entire identity fractures, then your identity was built on fragile ground. When you remain emotionally composed, you communicate something dangerous. I was whole before you. There is a particular kind of regret that hits people when they realize you were not dependent on their presence. It's not jealousy, it's recalibration. They thought they were your oxygen. Now they see you breathing just fine. And here is the subtle truth. When you genuinely detach from the need for their validation, you stop acting in ways that would repel respect. You stop over-explaining. You stop chasing clarity from someone who offered confusion. You stop shrinking. And that growth is visible, not loudly, but undeniably. People regret losing what grows without them. They regret losing the version of you that becomes stronger in absence. But here's the critical warning. If you are doing this solely to trigger regret, you are still emotionally tethered. Stoicism demands something harder. You must reach a point where their regret no longer matters. Ironically, that is when it begins. 3. Cut off contact. Most people don't cut contact. They reduce it. They slow fade. They keep one small thread alive, just in case. That thread is weakness. If someone has disrespected you, undervalued you, or treated you as disposable, staying partially available sends one message. You can return whenever it's convenient. And convenience kills respect. Cutting contact is not about punishing them. It is about protecting your psychological space. Every notification, every accidental check-in, every "just wanted to see how you're doing" message reopens emotional loops. Stoics understood something most people ignore. Repeated exposure strengthens attachment. If you constantly see them, talk to them, monitor them, you will never detach. And if you never detach, you will never elevate. So you don't announce the cutoff dramatically. You don't write essays about closure. You don't slam doors. You simply close them. No checking their stories. No reacting to indirect posts. No late-night nostalgia texts disguised as politeness. Silence becomes your boundary. There's something deeply unsettling about a person who disappears without chaos. When someone expects you to argue, beg, or protest, and you don't, it forces them into confrontation with their own decision. Silence makes space for reflection, and reflection breeds regret. Most people rely on emotional noise to avoid accountability. When you remove that noise, they are left alone with their thoughts. That is far louder than any speech you could give. But here's the discipline part. You cannot cut contact halfway. You cannot check their page just once. You cannot ask mutual friends for updates. You either detach or you remain hooked. And once you detach fully, something unexpected happens. Your mind clears. The energy you once spent analyzing their behavior returns to you. The conversations you rehearsed disappear. The imaginary arguments fade. And you start to remember who you were before them. That's when your value rises, not in their eyes first, but in your own. And when you no longer orbit someone, they begin to feel the gravitational shift. 4. Elevate your physical presence, not for them, but for you. Let's be honest. When people say work on your look, it often sounds shallow. But here's the deeper truth. How you carry yourself communicates how you see yourself, and self-perception radiates. This isn't about revenge glow-ups. It's about alignment. If you've been emotionally drained, it shows in posture, in grooming, in energy, in movement. When someone leaves and you collapse into yourself, your body mirrors defeat. Stoicism does not preach neglect. It preaches discipline. You train your body not to impress, but to fortify. You dress well not to seduce, but to signal self-respect. You improve your posture not for aesthetic approval, but because a grounded stance changes internal chemistry. There is a visible difference between someone who is spiraling and someone who is sharpening themselves. When people cross paths with you later and see confidence where they expected decline, it disrupts their assumptions. They expected damage. They see refinement. That contrast is powerful. You don't need dramatic transformation. You need consistency. You wake up earlier. You train. You clean your space. You upgrade your wardrobe subtly. You speak slower. You move with intention. The Stoics believed the body and mind influence each other. Discipline in one strengthens the other. And here's something interesting about human psychology. When someone sees that you improved after they left, it forces a re-evaluation of their role. They begin to wonder, was I holding them back? Nothing fuels regret like realizing someone flourished in your absence. But again, if you are doing this purely to provoke jealousy, you are still controlled by their opinion. The real power comes when the improvement becomes addictive for you, when self-development becomes your standard, not a strategy. At that point, their regret is a side effect, not the objective. 5. Do not take them back. This is the one that separates strength from performance, because many people execute the first 4 steps beautifully until the moment the other person returns, and they almost always return, not necessarily with flowers and apologies. Sometimes subtly, a message, a reaction, a soft re-entry. Why? Because absence reveals value. But here's the trap. If you take them back without changed behavior, you erase the lesson. You teach them that your boundaries are temporary. Regret only has power when consequences are permanent. Stoicism teaches that character is revealed through consistency. If someone disrespected you once and you immediately fold at the first sign of attention, you communicate something dangerous. Your standards are negotiable, and negotiable standards invite repeat behavior. You don't reject someone out of ego. You reject them out of alignment. Ask yourself, has anything fundamentally changed? Has accountability been taken? Has effort been demonstrated? Or is this simply comfort seeking comfort again? There is a certain calm authority in saying, I wish you well, but I've moved on. No drama, no bitterness, no lingering hooks, just closure. And closure delivered with composure is unforgettable. Sometimes the greatest regret people feel isn't losing you. It's realizing they cannot regain access. When you refuse to reopen doors that were once slammed in your face, you rewrite the dynamic permanently. You move from optional to unavailable, and that shift changes everything. The deeper Stoic truth. Here is the paradox. If your entire motivation is to make someone regret losing you, you are still psychologically attached. True power comes when their regret becomes irrelevant, when you wake up and don't check for messages, when their name no longer triggers tension, when you can genuinely wish them growth without needing their validation. At that point, whether they regret losing you or not stops mattering, and ironically, that is when they feel it the most. Because humans instinctively value what cannot be emotionally manipulated. So if you want someone to regret losing you, don't focus on them. Focus on becoming so internally stable, so disciplined, so self-contained, that losing you becomes a mistake they cannot correct. Not because you forced it, but because you evolved beyond their reach. That is not revenge. That is sovereignty. And sovereignty is silent.